Welcome to the fourth video presented by DevProCB. This is Carlos again. Today we're going to be talking about creating links in HTML5 and also some of the other nifty things that you can essentially do later on down the road with links as well, which is nice because the search engine in the future should start looking at this stuff as well. But let's go ahead and just look at the basic structure of a link as a whole overall. So essentially, just to create a simple link, all we do is a href equals, let's say we want to go to Google, http google.com, go to Google. Like I said, we close the tag. Okay. So remember what I was talking about, and I think it was in the first or second video, is it's always about opening and closing tags, and content goes in the middle. Open tag, content, close tag. Okay. Now, one of the things that we're also adding here is we're adding what they call an attribute to a tag, right? So this right here is considered an attribute. So essentially, it's kind of like enhancing that tag to do something additional, or you want it to do some extra work, or it has something fancy that that particular tag is going to do. So obviously this will not work if we just click, go to Google A. That's just not going to make sense. So if we represent it in here, it just displays go to Google. That's it. It doesn't do anything special. But when we add the attribute to it, click save, refresh that. Now it's a hyperlink. What did we do wrong? See, I love coding. I put a comma. I'm a quotation mark there and there. Let's see, what did we do wrong? Oh, all right, go back. Let's refresh that. Okay, now we went to Google. Completely sorry about that. But you can see how a minor error can throw off everything for you. But essentially, the attribute href Google brings you to google.com. So let's go ahead and do that again. Right? So we create the a href, or the hyper reference, and then you're telling it which link between the quote. So you open quote, end quote. So anything between those is where your link will go. Remember content, so this could be anything. This could be an image, this can be, remember, nesting from our other tutorial, so you can actually nest additional features here, but this is content. This is considered content in between this tag. All right, so you have your open tag. So let's say I want to do H1. Remember, this is the header, make the big text. Close, H1, save. And now I have a big link, right? So you can add additional attributes or additional content within it. So you have your A, your link, and your attribute, right? Easy enough. Links are pretty darn easy to create in HTML. So you shouldn't run into any issues with that as long as you follow this particular code here. Now, the other thing that I wanted to get ahead and cover before we get into anything else was the media type. Now, essentially what the media type will do is allows a link to target a specific type of document that it's optimized for. Now, we'll go ahead and show you what that is. So like, for example, let's say this was the href link for Google, and we were, I don't know, let's say we were doing it for print, right? So we can do something like media equals print. Okay, so we got media equals print. So essentially what we've told the browser is we want this link to represent printing material. Save that, click that. Now it does the same exact thing, right? So it's still going to bring you to the Google, it's still going to load up the web page. But what's important here is, let's say for example, I was writing a JavaScript code and I wanted to load up every link that related to articles that had print. Well, in this JavaScript code, what I can do is to essentially tell it, hey, look for links that are related to Google and only represent media that is printable, which means that I want to be able to print it out on a piece of paper. So the media type is essentially going to go ahead and kind of dictate what that particular document is optimized for. It won't change how the link functions or what it accomplishes and so forth, but what it will do is essentially tell it how or what that link is about, right? So media print, and let's say we add some additional information, right? So we can do actually parameters. We can do media print, media equals print, and then we can add some parameters and the minimum width of that document that we're trying to target was 500 pixels. All right, so this is going into a little bit more of the advanced area, but it's good to know that these features are available to you. Let's go ahead and save that real quick. Whoop. I want to make sure all that's in the same area. There we go. So refresh that, click to Google. Like I said, same exact thing. What we're doing here is essentially we're setting ourselves up for success in the future. You know, because you want to make sure that your site is always going to be ready for the future. You want to make sure that you have the ability of growing your website fairly easy. You know, so even though we can go ahead and eliminate this media tag, this is essentially limiting us or handicapping us in a way that if we ever wanted to do some more dynamic things with our website with scripting languages in the future, if you don't add these particular tags when you go in with a scripting language like JavaScript, or let's say, you know, you're writing a PHP code which prints out this information, you know, you're limiting yourself because you can't really target specific things. Especially when you're creating an application, you want to make sure that you have as much information as possible within your HTML code so that when that scripting language goes through, it can be more precise, which makes it more efficient. Whereas if it's just looking for Google, you may have 100 links with Google, but you may only want the links that have a width of 500. You know, so this is going to help you with later down the road when you get into the scripting languages overall. You know, so this is a little bit more complicated, but it's definitely something that you need to know exists with links itself. So you have the media tag that's available to you, and there are a couple other things that we want to get ahead and cover. But essentially, the media tag will have different values that can be associated to it. So it'll be media equals, and let's say you want to do all. So it fits every type of device or system that you're trying to target. You can do oral, which means that it's for like something like speech. You can target handhelds. If your site is for handicaps, you can go ahead and do some braille, letting them know that this link is specific to somebody using a braille system. You can let them know that it's print, screen, one of those TTY type things, or even televisions. You can say, hey, this link is specifically for televisions. And what's nice about that is that if you have an app or a script that runs in the beginning of your website, you can tell it to only load links relative to a TV. So all the other links that are not relevant to a TV can be removed from that main page. So you can see how the site can become really dynamic if you start adding a lot of these features that are available to you. And then you have the operators, which I said, so we'll cover this real quick. So media, we're telling it what type of media we're targeting with this link. We're doing print or any type, like we said, we can do TV. And then the parameters, or the operators, I'm sorry, can be and, not, or, which means that you can do print and has a minimum width of 500 pixels, or we can do print not equal to the width of 500 pixels, or we could do print or is equal to 500. So you can have an either or situation, whereas either it's a print or you can have, or the page also supports 500 pixels as well. So the operator is just kind of dictating to the HTML engine saying, hey, this link has multiple properties that are associated to it. You have this capability of doing it. And then of course, if you wanted to go a little bit further, you change that information with these and queries. So it could be print and medium min width of 500 pixels, not, and then you do orientation landscape. So that'll mean that it's can't even think of the portrait mode at that point. Landscape. I think I spelled this wrong. Scape. Okay. So essentially, we're kind of going into the programming language. This is because HTML5 has come quite a bit of way from probably when you remember. But essentially, all we're doing is we're giving it a command saying, hey, this link goes to Google. It's for a print document with a minimum width of 500 pixels, and the screen orientation does not support landscape. So that'll be good for tablets, right? So let's say you link them to a location where, this link is not going to be good to tablets. Well, in your scripting language, you can actually disable this link anytime that person is in landscape mode. So you can see that we're really giving, even though it's just HTML, we're setting ourselves up for success later in the future because we can target these particular values with a scripting language, which is going to be really nifty overall. So just to cover kind of the basics here, the Href, so you open the tag, you gave it some attributes like media and Href. We gave it some values, closed the tag, created a big link so we can go to Google, because everybody loves Google, right? We closed the H1 tag, which is our big text, and then we closed our link. So remember, we need to get and cover this real quickly. So whatever tag you start with, you end with. So how we set it up here, we started with an H1 tag and we wanted to end with the H1 tag after we wrote our content. So whatever your tag ends with, you want to make sure you whatever tag you start with, you want to end with as well. So look at it kind of like a parent-child-child situation. So your parent is the big guy. It's the one that's holding everything in, kind of like a family, right? So the A is the start of this family. The child of A is H1. And then the family ends with A again. So everything within the family needs to be enclosed with the family. All right, so we went to Google, set that up, we saved it. Like I said, just to reiterate, once again, it doesn't change the link or how it functions, but it does dictate later on, especially with scripting languages, how this will benefit. Now, one of the things I mentioned in the beginning as well was the SEO benefits. Now, I can't say that this is one of the things that they're looking for, but it'll definitely be something in the future that you want to get ahead and start planning for. The reason for that is because search engines are always trying to find the best way to provide you the most relevant content. Now you can imagine Google constantly goes through their updates every 6 months to a year, especially with Bing and many of the other search engines that are out there. what they try to do is they want to get ahead and target information specifically to you on the type of platform you're using. So you can imagine as the search engines improve their results, one of the things they're going to start looking at is your links, right? So your site may have something that's specific to a print document that you're searching on your phone. So when Google indexes or Bing indexes your website, it has more information to allow the index to provide a much more relevant result. So the more information you can give any of the search engines, the more beneficial it will be. The downfall to doing it this way, though, is the fact that one, you're increasing your overall document size because you're adding more information. And two, it takes a lot longer to make sure that this information is input into your website. Whereas if we just eliminated this content here specifically, we've reduced the amount of the size of the document, but we've also eliminated any extra stuff that may not be relevant. So this is going to be more of a user's choice type of situation where, if you're trying to prepare for the future and you really want to make sure your site is established, take a little bit more time to define these types of things because it's really going to help in the future. If your website's going to be very basic, a lawyer website, resume website, these types of things really aren't going to benefit you too much, but it won't hurt you either. So even though it may not benefit you overall, it's not going to negatively hurt you towards search engines, besides probably load times overall if they're on a slow connection, which is probably pretty slim nowadays with broadband and all the fiber optics, like for example, Verizon and AT&T Uverse that are out there available to customers. So that covers kind of like the media queries that are available to you. The other thing that we want to get ahead and touch on is the type of language. So like I said, these are all just attributes. You're just telling the system that this is what is associated to that link. All right, so once again, we're just giving the system more info to establish what needs to be done. Right, so our targeting link is targeting an English language. All right, so we save that, go back here, refresh this. Once again, it does not change the link. It just gives more information available to whatever you're trying to accomplish with your website later. So let's say someone's trying to only collect links that are of the English language. You may have a site that's multilingual. You may want to indicate to them that the Href, or the link that you're creating, is specific only to the English language. So you're helping with that information as well. The other thing is you want to talk about is the relativity of the link to the document that you're trying to link to. So all that is rel equals, and then this link can be relative to something like a search engine, which it is, right? So this link is relative to the search engine. Obviously, that's true because Google's a search engine. That's all it is. It's just letting you know the relationship between that current document that you're on and the document that you're linking to overall. Now, the other thing that's probably going to be most important for you is the target command or the target attribute. This target attribute, what it does is essentially allows you to tell the browser how you want the link to open up in a particular browser. So let's say I want to do a blank page, right? We'll go ahead and set that up. So now when I did that, it opened up a blank page. So now I still have my other document open. I can load up Google. Or what I can get ahead and do is self. And that loads it up within the same page. Now there are other attributes that are available, like parent or frame name or top. since HTML5 doesn't really support frames anymore, these attributes are really not going to be specific to you at all. So you're going to go ahead and want to just kind of ignore those. So just focus on blank or self as your attributes for the target language as well. And then of course, the other one you want to look at is type, or the MIE type. Essentially is just linking to um, an MP4 type file, an MP3, like video, and so forth. So it's essentially what you're setting up when you do those types of things. Is it a text or HTML type of situation? There are thousands of MIE types, so we're not going to go through all of them. But if you do want to go ahead and research all of the MIE types, just go to IANA. IANA has a massive list of media types that you can have that are available to you when doing that. But we'll show you how to essentially write the MIE type here. So if we go type equals, and this is a text / HTML document. That's it. So we're just letting the system know, hey, this is a text HTML document. This is important. Once again, for setting yourself up for scripting languages to begin later on. You tell the scripting language, hey, I just want to target, MP4s, or I only want to target, MP3 files that are specific to those links. So this all helps with, giving more information to have your site be more efficient when designing it in the first place. But essentially, this covers links. I would go ahead and experiment with it. Try all the different attributes that are available to you. We'll go ahead and post on the website the different elements that are available, just because there's quite a bit. And we'll also link to IANA below this video as well, just so you can have some more information on the different MIE types. We're just there's just way too many to even go through here. But that really covers the tags. Or, I'm sorry, the HTML Href tag for getting you up and running with creating links. As you can see, it's really easy. And once again, we were able to use nesting to create or modify the way we wanted something to look right here. Once again, this is Carlos from DevPro CB. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below the video. Have a great day.